Hello, everyone. I'm happy to welcome you back to the second session of Prep with Parley. Today, we have Malavika Venkatraman with us. She has completed her master's degree in applied economics from the National University of Singapore and master's in health economics from the London School of Economics. She is an economist, currently doing her dissertation as a summer research associate on digital health at LSE Innovation. She's also working alongside an NGO as a health economist. Let's just jump into the questions now. What was your reasoning behind choosing these particular courses? Did you consider your career prospects before opting for these courses?
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Malavika. With respect to choosing my particular courses, to be honest, economics in 2010 was something that was booming. People were giving a lot more importance to it, and career aspects were quite good. So I wanted to, and also I think schools, high schools, had brought economics as a separate course of subject. So I grew my interest in economics, and I definitely wanted to try and go the direction in my career. So yeah, I chose, and trust me, economics is a subject which you can actually take up only if you really like it. So I did my bachelor's in Stella Maris College in Chennai, India. Um, this was bachelor's in economics, and after that, right after that, I wanted to get into a more technical side of applied economics. So I went to the National University of Singapore. So I did not work right after my undergrad. I directly went to pursue my first master's. And yeah, so after that, I wanted to specialize in economics. And there was no better time to get jump into healthcare. So I wanted to use the loop to try and get into healthcare and economics. So yeah, and I wanted to pursue it at the London School of Economics and yeah, health economics.
All right. What was your criteria for choosing universities?
So my criteria for choosing universities in general, I would say that the ranking of the university is quite an important ordeal, I would say. But in general, you need to understand where your university stands in terms of the particular course that you would like to do. Um, what kind of expertise are you trying to look for? What do you want to gain from that? So that's the main thing. I would say that were one of the main criteria for me. But then, say if it's going to be in a different country, not everyone's going to want to go to a different country to do their masters, any masters. In general, I would say what kind of job prospects you're looking to gain from this. What kind of exposure and networking will this particular course try and um, uh, lead you to? So these are some of the most important aspects that I would say are important when you choose a university. Also, I would say that I was quite biased with LSE because that was my dream university to go to. So yeah, I think in general you would like to understand where this university stands in terms of the course and your general career prospects within that same country or outside. What is it going to give you end of the day? Are you going to really achieve what you want to achieve? Is this course going to enhance your knowledge base on that? So that I think that would be one of the most important criteria, I would say.
All right. How significant is GPA in the admissions process?
So GPA, I would say it is quite an important factor, but then it would also depend on whether you're trying to go in for a more taught course or a research course. So when it comes to a more taught course, I think the expectation in terms of your academic curriculum is even more important. Um, so GPA would play a much bigger role, but when it comes to say a research oriented course, you're basing it on your proposal, you're basing it on what you would want to do and not what you already have. So yeah, but I would definitely say GPA is one of the most important factors when it comes to your next move. But again, it also depends on where you're moving from. So, for example, you're moving from, say, a job, or you're moving from a university. So, for my first master's at NUS, of course, my GPA did play a huge role. But when it came to my second master's, it's more about the experience and what you would bring to the course and what you'd like to take from the course. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't give 100% weightage to a GPA. I'll definitely say it's an 80% or 85 at the max. I wouldn't weight to 100%, because when I'm sure that a lot of universities will ask more than 2:1 in terms of your GPA, or depending on whichever country you're coming from. If it is, say, from India, some universities have 5 point scale, some universities have 10 point scale. Again, the universalization of that is not very common. So there's a lot of confusion in general whether I can apply, I can't apply, do I even get into the whole thing of am I eligible for this? So I think it's about um, trying to make sure you always have a consistent score and you stick to it, because I think consistency is also one of the things that universities expect. You can't have something awesome at one semester and something going down the drain in another semester. So I think consistency is one of the important factors as well that they expect. But yeah, I wouldn't give more than 80% for the GPAs.
Okay, that's great. You have been a research and financial analyst in the past. So, what would you say are the essential skills one has to possess to secure such positions?
Okay, so this is quite a tricky question, because it usually will depend on the role that you enter, say this particular company or an institute, or a university. So if you are, say, entering into an entry level position, they expect you to be proactive. They expect you to take the initial call. They expect you to communicate, and they don't want you to be reserved and wait for them to give you a command. They want to make sure that you are the one who's being proactive in dealing with your own work. So in terms of, say, the research analyst positions, and say, for example, they're going to be data oriented stuff, I think the expectation is usually detail orientation. You They expect you to be highly detail oriented, and also some kind of statistical knowledge, as in tools. So I would definitely say that having knowledge of, say, different statistical tools, say SPSS or Stata, R, so these would definitely enhance your opportunities in general, and you would also be seen as someone who has better experience and better exposure when it comes to choosing between different candidates. So yeah, I mean, in general, I think these are the, because even in my own case, I don't really know when the job description says we want someone who's proactive, we want someone who's like this. How can you actually tell them that I am such a person? It's a very tricky thing. So some would be very generic that you really can't tell them, hey, I am like this. You can't really say that. But then again, when you talk to them, when you're trying to convince them in, say, an interview or something, you'll have to bring it out, or say in a cover letter, you'll have to bring it out, as to what your real qualities are and how you're different from the others. So again, my financial analyst role, I was a part of Ernst& Young, but it was just an internship. But then in general, when it comes to financial analyst roles, you need to keep in mind that they are quite demanding in terms of, say, your time, your work-life balance. But yeah, in general, I think these people as well expect you to have a background in terms of corporate finance and financial markets. So just generic knowledge, at least for an entry level position, they expect that you do have an exposure in terms of these, maybe an internship, or say a course. So just to prove to them that you're not starting from scratch and you have something. So yeah, I would say that these are some of the important things that fall under for both the roles.
Right, okay. Now let's talk about research proposals. Can you briefly take us through the process of ideating and actually writing down a research proposal?
Sure. So, in terms of an actual research proposal, both my courses did not want me to submit one because both were taught courses for me. So I didn't really have to. But in general, I can share my knowledge in terms of what the expectations are. So I think a good research proposal should tell them why you want to do this and how you would like to do this and what would you really want to do with it. So these are the three key things that people usually expect from it. So again, for example, if you know what exactly the university or the institute are trying to go towards a direction. So for example, in my case of healthcare, there could be an institute which is trying to deal with long-term care or elderly care or stuff like that, or cardiac stuff. So if you know what is the thing that drives this particular university and what could be the ones that they could be interested in, you could definitely tailor your research proposals based on that. Again, it depends on whether or not you would like to do it. But I'm assuming that if you are interested in a university or an institute, your interests are going to be more or less aligned to what they want to do. And I'd say that you can talk to people, you can try and connect with people, network, and understand what the expectations are in general, the university's interest, and cater your proposals based on that. So, yeah, that would be my suggestion.
All right. Now, another important aspect of the application process is the statement of purpose. According to you, how should one go about writing this? Is there any particular structure to go by?
Definitely, definitely. SOPs are very, very important in general. I would say I'd give more weightage to this than the GPA. So when you want to start an SOP, you want to tell them very brief first, like in terms of an introduction, you want to tell them why are you doing this? Why do you think you are doing this course? And then go about saying your experience and how this particular experience can enhance your candidacy for this particular course. What have you done so far? It could be just transferable skills. It could be something very particular to this course that you did. So it could be anything that you think is the driver for you to apply for this particular course. And then I'd say that you can move on to something personally and professionally as to what do you want to gain from this. So what do you want to gain from this course? Why do you want to do, like, even in the introduction, or say here you want to say why do you want to do this course in general, and I'm so sorry, why do you want to do this course in general, and why this university. So you want to tell them, and what is it going to give you. So I want to do this particular course because it's, so basically it's your passion, and from a professional point of view and personal point of view, why would you like to do it and what is it going to give you is ultimately what you want to tell them. And I'd say that not many people actually do this, but then there's the most important one as well. So after, now that you told them all of this, you want to tell them what you'd like to do with it uh, on a futuristic basis. So now that it's like you did give me the candidacy, you did give me a position in your university, but then what am I going to do with it? What do I see myself do with it? So on a futuristic basis, you want to tell them, hey, if you give me this is what I want to do with it, this is what I aspire to achieve if I have this knowledge. So yeah, I think this is the kind of structure that in general universities expect from your personal view, your professional and passionate view, and what you'd like to really do and why you want them. So this is a generic structure that they usually expect.
All right. How would you go about collecting letters of recommendation? Typically,
Mm.
can the same LORs be used for all the courses, or do the letters have to be tailored to the course?
Yeah, that's a very good question as well. So again, LOR is quite a big deal as well when it comes to applications. And remember that you're not going to be able to see this in most cases, that you're not going to be able to read it as a student. You're not going to be able to read it. So make sure that you get it from someone. So again, it depends on whether you, from which background you're coming from right now. Are you coming from work now, or are you coming from a university route now? So it depends on the relevancy, and it depends on how recent this connection has been to you and how close this connection has been to you. So, for example, if you're going to, like, for example, my first course was at NUS, and I directly moved from Stella to NUS. So, you need to make sure that the professor, so it could be a professor connection as in a university connection, academia, or it could be a professional connection, say your colleague or your higher manager is even better. So when you want to collect it from anybody, either of these three categories, you need to make sure that they know your strengths, you know that they're going to vouch for your capabilities and your strengths. You need to make sure that they, because you're not going to see this again, it's all behind your back. So you need to make sure that these are people who definitely know your strengths and they know what you want in life. So talk to them first on why you're doing this, and what would you do about the whole course. Just give them a bigger picture of where you are right now and how would you like to see yourself later. So yeah, that's one of the most important things, because they are the ones who are going to definitely guarantee you to this university. So I think the professional connect, the and the personal connect with them is quite important. You can't just ask any professor to or a professional connection to give you a recommendation, because they need to know you, or at least the way they portray it should look like they really know you and they know your strengths and they know why you want to do this course. So when they are writing it, it has to be on a personal level as well. So I would say that very recent connection, the most recent connection, and someone who can vouch for you is what I would definitely recommend.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
What are the English language requirements and how can students go about preparing for these tests, be it IELTS or TOEFL?
So I wrote my IELTS when I had to do my NUS course as a part of my application. So again, as Indians, we've been lucky enough to be a part of in and around English all the time. So from, because there are, when you get out of India is when you realize that not many countries usually have English as their first language. So I think just by this rules, we're already ahead of the whole crowd. We know our stuff better. So in general, I mean personally, on honestly, I didn't really prepare for this on a separate note. But then I would say that the key here is the timing and the accent. So because there's going to be listening and comprehension as well, right? So in terms of because comprehension definitely does take quite a bit of your time, and when it comes to the listening, you'll have to make sure you understand different accents. So I think these are the only two things that you will have to take note of. Um, so I would say just a quick understanding of where you are. So just a prep of a week or two before your exam should be good enough, because you have enough exposure to the language and you should be good enough. Because I did need it for my NUS, but for LSE, I didn't need anything because I already had a master's course from an English university. So they didn't really require me to submit one more. I was just lucky that, I could just get away with it. I didn't have to write it. But for my first one, I did. And you just need a week or two before, just to understand where you stand in terms of timing and understanding the accents. Otherwise, I think you should definitely be good enough. You don't really need to do anything out of the way to prepare for this. Yeah.
All right, so what is your suggestion to students who are looking into various courses in universities in general?
I would again say this is very much connected to the question that you asked me on choosing my universities. So I would say that the background of the course is very important, and what you really aim to do with it is important. There's a huge deal with respect to pre-COVID and post-COVID education here. So you need to really understand that if you're going to really get the exposure that you want, the experience that you want, and the networking that you want, because it's definitely challenging to get all of these in a COVID situation. You never know what to expect. So I would definitely say that you should research on this. At least for the coming couple of years, you need to really understand if you're going to get what you are expecting. So talk to a couple of alumni to understand what they went through. Talk to people who've gone through the pre-COVID and the post-COVID. Try to match how these look, and if there was some kind of compromise in terms of, say, the curriculum by itself, or anything per se, like if your expectations are on par with what they're going to offer you. So I think that's one of the important things. And then funding would be one of the major things as well, and lodging would be one of the major things as well. So as a student, I think when you are trying to look for universities, it's very much aligned with what I as a student, why I chose these two universities as well, and your dream university, or your passion in terms of why this course in this university is the answer to everything. I mean, again, if this course is going to land me in a professional career that I would really want to be in. So yeah, I think these are the important factors that make you go to the university that you want to. So
Thank you for that elaborate answer. Finally, coming to the cultural aspect, you've stayed in both London and Singapore. So, did you face a culture shock or were you able to adapt quite quickly?
um, okay, honestly, when it came to Singapore, I was hardly 20 years old. And I'm sure you know, coming from an Indian family, I'm literally never done anything on my own. So it was like throwing me into a pool, and I didn't know to swim initially. But I think the whole thing is about trying to grow up personally and professionally. You're trying to understand where you stand in the whole crowd, what the expectations are in terms of the university or the country. So I think you will at some point get to the point, because even academically their expectations are very different. The way they are going to evaluate you, the way you're going to stand with the whole crowd is going to be very different, and you're going to have multiple ethnicities in one place, and there's going to be a lot of things that you want to learn. So I think personally and professionally, it's a lot of things to learn. It's quite exciting. Definitely could be overwhelming initially if that's your first time. You're getting out of your comfort zone. So when you obviously are getting out of your comfort zone, it's not the great of things that you'd feel. Especially at 20, I was not all that happy. But then I think those are things that let you grow personally and professionally, and you want to know, and you get to know where you stand and what you want. And with LSE, with London, I would say that. In terms of culture, I think a little bit more free, a little bit more um, they are quite crazy, to be honest, because Singapore, being an Asian country, is quite conservative in its own way. But yeah, definitely a crazier London. But then I had a partial lockdown London. But yeah, but it was okay because I knew what it was to expect when you live alone, when you have to take care of yourself. So I think taking care of yourself personally and emotionally is also one of the important things that really matter when you're outside alone. Personally, I would say that everyone should at least once you have to get out to understand yourself personally. from different cultures, different people. Because when you're in India, at least in Stella, I had only Indians around me. So when you get out, you get to interact with a lot of people. You get to understand different cultures and different style of networking. Different, as in the knowledge base that you get is quite vast. So it's definitely fun, but there could be ups and downs there. But that's part of the fun, right? So that's okay. So yeah, that's about it.
Right. Okay, that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you
Hmm.
so much to everyone who's watching. And of course, thank you so much, Malavika, for being here with us,
My
taking
pleasure.
time out of your busy schedule. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much.